May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be ever mindful of thee, O Lord, my strength and my salvation. Amen. It is not my custom to offer a long sermon on Palm Sunday because of the length of the Passion narrative that we've just read. I think it speaks and stands for itself. It recounts the final days of Christ's life before his crucifixion. And there's really nothing that I can say or do that can, I think, touch upon the power of these words. So I'm just going to briefly speak about an issue that has been raised to me. Why are we not having Holy Communion? Why are we doing morning prayer instead? Well, the reason is because of our understanding of what happens at communion, church history, and church law. In the Episcopal Church, in the Anglican world, and the Church of England, Holy Communion may not be celebrated by a priest by himself. In the United States, there must be 2 people present for Holy Communion. In the Church of England, there must be 3 people present. While in the Catholic Church and the Orthodox churches, that rule does not apply. Now, why is that? Why do we have this particular understanding? Well, it comes down to the difference between Protestants and Catholics. At a Catholic Eucharist, the priest is at the altar and he is doing something. He is sacrificing the Mass on behalf of the people. This is something that goes from the priest up to God. And then he is consecrating and changing the bread and wine, the elements. And in the Catholic tradition, those elements, though their outside image remains that of bread and wine, internally they are really God's body and blood. Now, in the Episcopal tradition, we do not believe that. In fact, in the Articles of Religion, there are those statements of our belief that were written in the 1600s that if you look in your prayer book, you can find all the way in the back. Oh, I can't find it this second, but trust me, it's there. And one of those articles states, we do not believe in transubstantiation, meaning we do not believe that the body and blood of Jesus Christ are sacrificed at the Mass by the priest. We have what is called, in theological terms, a receptionist understanding of Holy Communion. We believe it is not the bread and wine that changes, but that you and I change. That this is a memorial that we are celebrating as a community. And the priest doesn't own the Eucharist. He's not doing it on behalf of the people in the pews who are just watching him. Rather, he is doing it with the people. That's why we, in the modern era, face the congregation. We don't have a back to the congregation. We face the people, and we celebrate with the people, and God reaches down to us and unites us in this fellowship of the recreation of the Lord's Last Supper. See, here's the difference. From the Catholic perspective, it's the priest going up to God by his actions. In the Protestant perspective, which we have in our prayer books and in our liturgies, it is God coming down to us in this time when 2 or 3 are gathered together in his name. And you can't do that with only a priest by himself. Now, I'm not saying the Catholic tradition is wrong and ours is perfect and without question. There are Episcopal priests and Episcopal churches who have a Catholic understanding and sensibility. But what I am saying is that at Shepherd of the Hills, we follow the traditional Anglican teachings, the teachings that our church has held for about 500 odd years. We're neither Anglo-Catholic, nor are we modernist, or we're neither this nor that. We're just good old regular Episcopalians. Now, why don't I celebrate Holy Communion and have you watch it on TV or the internet or whatever it's called? It's because you would then be watching. You wouldn't be participating. And the communion in the Episcopal tradition needs to be communal. You just can't watch it and think that if you're at home and you've got bread and wine and somehow they're magically changed too. It's not how it works. What's being changed is your heart. and in fellowship. And that's why we gather together. It's not something that we can do virtually, in the sense that we can do it over the internet, where we can have communion, where I can celebrate the bread and wine, and you in your home can have a glass of wine and a piece of bread, and they somehow are consecrated too. It doesn't work that way. See, and part of it is a vocabulary. In our Episcopal tradition, we understand the consecration of the bread and wine just like we understand, say, the consecration of a building to become a church, or the consecration of a man or a woman to become a bishop. There's still a man, there's still a woman, it's still a bishop, but it is something that has been set aside to be holy. It remains what it was, but its purpose changes. The bread and wine remains bread and wine, but its purpose changes as a symbol of God's love and power and peace amongst all of us. Now, I'm not going to criticize those churches that have online Holy Communion. You can watch them, you can be entertained, but I'm not going to do it here. Instead, we're going to do our traditional morning prayer, where we gather 2 or 3, and we can gather in that sense spiritually through the medium of the internet or the telephone in a way we cannot physically with the bread and the wine. So we do morning prayer at Shepherd of the Hills during this time of lockdown. And the bishop has asked that we not have people come to church. I can't bring my wife to do Holy Communion. Now, there's some churches, Episcopal churches, you can watch on TV where they're going to have a priest and maybe a few people come from the choir or other clergy and do it. We don't have that luxury here. The bishop basically wants us to keep our doors closed for reasons of health and safety. And at the end of the day, it's perfectly in line with our understanding of what happens. We are in this together. Holding Holy Communion like that, holding a service like that fellow down in Tampa last week did. And it's sort of funny because he's not a Catholic, he's an independent evangelical, and if he believed that God were truly present, you know, the Catholics had this thing called adoration of the Blessed Sacrament, where you can have a consecrated priest wafer and put it in the thing called a monstrance, this sort of this object that holds it up, and you venerate it because you believe it's the body of Christ. Now, if you believe that, then I think it makes sense to come no matter what, because you're coming into the presence of God. You can't come into his presence any other way except through that sacramental presence. Now, a Protestant doesn't believe that. He believes that when 2 or 3 are gathered together, when we get on our knees and pray, we are in God's presence, that we have unfettered, direct access to God. You don't need the priest to get there. And this fellow down in Tampa, who doesn't believe in the real presence, who doesn't have adoration of the Blessed Sacrament, instead was basically saying, well, the government can't tell me what to do. Therefore, I'm going to hold the service because it's important that we stick together and worship. Well, yes, it's important that you stick together and worship. But I think what was speaking was not faithfulness there, but pride. I'm going to show the government that they can't tell me what to do. Friends, there is separation of church and state in the United States. Our Constitution, government may not pass any laws to restrict public worship. Now, what does that mean? They can't tell me what to preach. They can't censor my sermon. They can't shut me down because they don't like what I'm doing. But the government can regulate churches like other enterprises if they do it without discrimination or distinction. We cannot have more than, I think it's 100, 125, Marco, our senior ward will tell us, have more than 125 people in the parish hall because of fire regulations. Well, isn't that a violation of church and state? How can the fire marshal enforce the fire code, safety code, and say we can't have 125 people? Well, because that's nothing to do with worship or doctrine or discipline. That's health and safety. We have all these food handling requirements that we have to have, that our kitchen be up to standard, or the health department can shut down our parish hall. if we are being lax and lazy in how we handle food that we serve at parish dinners and in coffees and things like that. Now, this is the same standard that everybody is held to, and because of that, we must comply, and we do so joyfully. The coronavirus lockdown is not a shutting down of churches because they're churches, but a way to prevent 10 or more people from gathering together, and that way spreading this virus. And for that reason, the Episcopal Church has no difficulties in complying with the government's reasons, has no difficulties medically, has no difficulties practically, nor theologically, because I'm not a magician. You don't need me to know Jesus Christ. You have got your Bible, you have got your knees, get on them, pray, and allow the Spirit of God to speak to you. And when we do have Holy Communion, remember we do it together, because this is a community of people gathered in love and fellowship with each other under the power of God. And we gather to give him honor, glory, and praise.